Georgia. This model also indicates that other primary feeder states should continue intense mitigation efforts at least until mid-May. Neither Florida or any of its feeder states have met the White House gating criteria needed even to begin the opening. I don't know why we're not following President Trump's recommendations. Testing is very inadequate, as our very helpful health department says, and we have to be very careful what we do. It's going to be difficult to monitor any spread of disease, and now you're being very careful and reevaluating this at short periods of time. But the incubation for this virus is 2 weeks. So, and it's going to take almost 3 weeks for us to even see the impact of inviting all these visitors in. In summary, opening prematurely would jeopardize all the great work you guys have done. I would prefer we should put off everything to June. I would hate to have a deadly wave resurgence coming. We'd have to close down for the summer. That would be disastrous for all the businesses and the workers. So in conclusion, at the very least, we should take all these wonderful ideas you guys have come and just wait and see what the governor says. If he opens up the state, the second homeowners, we should not open the beaches. I think we should all agree that a ban on short-term rentals, if that's lifted, we should not open the beaches. We'll be putting our first-line workers and our whole population at risk. Thank you very much for all your work.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Next up is Jim Bagby. Jim, you there?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, and thank the commissioners. You guys are doing a great job. I would just ask you to take a little slower approach to opening the beaches. I wouldn't do the sunbathing, and I agree with the no vendors. I would wait till the 12th. When the governor started talking about this, it was for exercising for mental health. So walking, running, jogging, swimming, it was more of an exercise focus. I think if you allow the sunbathing, I think you're going to realize most everyone's worst nightmare, that people just come down in droves. I know there are even people that believe that if we're open all day and we allow sunbathing, people will come over from Bay and Okaloosa County just to sunbathe. They probably won't come over just to walk the beach. They can walk the beach in those counties. I would also ask you to just impose the no tents as part of your order, because that really is counterproductive to the social distancing that I think that we're trying to do. But you've done a great job, and I agree with unlimited hours. I think that is the way, and I think that's why Bay County is probably going to go that way, probably the other counties too. But I would just ask you to maybe on the 12th allow sunbathing, and then prior to Memorial Day, allow the vendors. Once we've shown that we can gradually progress and that people can actually follow the rules that you're going to be putting in place. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next up is last four digits is 1993. 1993. Please identify yourself.
Yes, this is Kristen Miriam, Merriam.
Okay, Miriam, go ahead.
I just would like a point of clarification from the beginning of the meeting when the attorney spoke about opening the beaches for like periods of time and then readdressing every 7 days. Are we still thinking that?
No, ma'am. What's on the table now is, as of last Thursday, it was unlimited.
I think she's talking about us having to redo this every 7 days.
Well, the emergency order must be removed or redo every 7 days by statute. So whatever we do today, 7 days later, I will have to reinstitute it again for another 7 days. That's just the way the statute runs.
Okay.
Well, yes, assuming there's still an emergency, and I think that's going to be considered an emergency for weeks and months to come.
Okay, I just worry about, I have a vacation home down there, and renters have paid to come in the summer, and if it's available, people are going to be less likely to be able to plan and book travel if we are going to go on a weekly basis as to whether or not our beaches are going to be open.
So,
You can't really make plans that way.
Okay.
And we're all trying to get back to a normalcy a little bit here. And the other thing is about the beach chairs. I mean, I can fish from the shore and still sit in a beach chair and sunbathe. I think that's a slippery slope. I think if we social distance and we're 6 feet apart, we should be able to enjoy sitting in a chair, soaking up the sun, just like I can in my backyard, and be outdoors.
Okay. All right. Well, there's not much I can do about the 7-day requirement. That's by statute. So if the emergency still exists at the conclusion of the 7 days we're in, then it'll be reinstituted for an additional 7 days. And that's just the way the statute allows us to keep the declaration of emergency in place.
and I do want to be clear that the board has the authority based on circumstances, changed circumstances, to make changes to these rules, that there's no way that we can guarantee what will happen in the future, because this is a fluid, changing emergency situation. So just because these are the regulations now doesn't mean that's what they'll be later in the summer. They could be less or they could be greater.
That's right, Ms. Miriam. The things, what happens here on site will dictate what actions that we may have to take, whether it's increasing restrictions or relaxing restrictions. So it's just...
Okay. That makes sense. Is there still more time that I can add one more thing on that note?
If you can do it in about 20 seconds. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. It's regarding the vendors. I think they would be essential in helping regulate the social distancing and allowing them to set up people. Because if you think about Rosemary Beach in the summer, they have 4 rows of chairs, people body to body. If we don't have them down there separating the chairs, you're going to have everybody come down with beach towels and congregating in huge droves. If you don't allow the vendors to set up and give them guidelines on the distancing of the chairs and limiting the amount of people going to the high traffic areas.
Okay, understood. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
I've got next one up. I think the last name is Stanfield. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Yes, sir.
Identify yourself and spell your last name.
Yes, sir. My name is Nathan Stanfield. Last name spelled Stanfield.
Okay, go ahead, sir.
I just wanted to get some clarification on umbrella and chairs. Are they going to be allowed? And then under the definition of a tent, is a 10 by 10 canopy considered a tent?
From what legal tells us, the tents, depending on where you're putting them up at, there may be on some private beaches restrictions there, but we're not prohibiting at this time tents or umbrellas or chairs, but there won't be any vendor umbrellas and chairs there.
Okay. Thank you very much.
All right. Next is a last name, I think, is Sanchez. Can you identify yourself, please?
Good morning, Mr. Chair. This is Sammy Sanchez, Fire Marshal, South Walton Fire District. How's everybody doing today?
I'm doing fine. Sammy, go ahead, sir.
Thank you for having me on here. I just had a quick question, and if I missed it earlier, I apologize. But with regards to vending, does that also include beach bonfires? We're in the position, South Walton Fire District is to support whatever decision the board makes, and we just want to make sure we're on the same page. We're getting bombarded with phone calls regarding beach bonfires, and we just want to make sure that whatever the board determines, that's the guidelines we're going to follow as well.
All right, well, I'll try to make it simple. They are banned. No bonfires.
Yes, sir.
That take care of it for you, Sammy?
Yes, sir. We just, appreciate what you folks are doing. Obviously, when the beaches are opened, or if they're opened, our guards will play a vital role in that opening. And so I just want to give a quick acknowledgement to our guards that have been out there recently and what a great job they've been doing. Obviously, when this opens, they will be on the front line, so to speak. And you have a good bunch of lifeguards out there, and just want to acknowledge that and appreciate your guys' support.
All right, Sammy, while they've got you on the phone, right now the motion includes water activities, and I think right now the water has been closed, so that would be also opened up too. And so I don't know how that's going to play with your lifeguards, but if you can reach out and let us know or let Larry know what y'all's intent is there. But I don't think you can close the water now based upon what's on the board's motion.
Yes, sir. And speaking with our beach safety director, if the water is opened back up, I'm assuming that we're going to go back to manning our towers as normal. So we will certainly keep an eye on this and see what transpires. And if there's anything other that I'm missing, I'm sure our beach safety director will let us know.
Okay, Larry.
Mr. Chairman, just to be clear, while the resolution opens the beaches, it will not preclude the South Walton Fire District from flying the double red flags when conditions would require it. So I think we should be clear that we would go back to the normal process of utilizing the flag system, and whether the beaches are open, whether they're closed, or, I mean, the water's open, closed, or whatever the case may be.
But I don't think there was any our intent to, if the water's open back up, that they wouldn't start using the flag system as they normally do. And of course, they still have the option to close it based upon surf conditions, et cetera, out there. Jay, you want to say
Just
something?
real quick, I did have a conversation with David Vaughn, the Beach Safety Director for South Walton Fire District, and they do plan on resuming their normal operations of flags and having the lifeguards on the beach once y'all open the beach.
All right, thank you. All right, Sammy, is that it, bud?
Yes, sir. I appreciate you clearing that up for us. Thank you.
Commissioner Chapman, and I'm sorry, and I'm glad that Sammy called in, because that was an oversight on my part about the bonfires. So it's a separate permit from vending and special events. So if we want to make it explicitly clear that bonfires are also prohibited, if Commissioner Gladwell wants to consider amending his motion to include that.
I'll amend the motion to include that.
Second that.
Okay, it was approved by second. Okay. All right, thank you, Sammy. Next up is, I think it's Lonergan Kim, is that correct?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Spell your last name for the clerk, please.
Lonergan, Lonergan.
Okay, go ahead, ma'am.
We own multiple properties off 30A. We rent some of those properties. Nonetheless, I know y'all are making hard decisions, and I 100% the governor's decision to stop short-term rentals and your decisions that you've made. And this is why my main home is right by a public access. I watch people going over the public access, and they do not do social distancing. I also live very close to the bike path. Significant disregard for social distancing. So my concern is, on the list of opening the beach is sunbathing. I do not see, and unfortunately don't have faith, I wish I did, in the individuals to not put a lot of chairs down there. And the sheriff will come by. I saw him do this when we had the public-private issue. People were jumping the public, going over to private beaches, and the sheriff would come by and they would claim they lived someplace, or if they're on the public beach, they grabbed their chairs and they went and hid. And I just think if we include sunbathing on that list, we are going to increase the risk, and our community cannot handle that. I'm not being very articulate, because I just realized how emotional I am about this, but I think sunbathing should be something discussed in 2 weeks and not put on that list right now.
Okay, thank you. For the board, I will withdraw that part of it, the sunbathing, if you make it part of your motion.
That's fine with me.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Okay. Well, sunbathing is off right now, as far as the motion. Do what? You can sit on the beach, just can't lay a blanket out. I don't know, sunbathing. I mean, anyway, the next one up, 2818. Identify yourself.
That's me. My name's Ann Walton, ANNEWALTON.
Okay, Ms. Walton. Go ahead.
First, I just want to say, this is extremely unprecedented. So I really appreciate the time and the effort that you guys are taking to make sure that we're all safe and that, everything's going well. We own a private condo down there with a private beach. And I think that sun tanning is okay as long as, we have the clear restrictions in place and we give people the opportunity to show that they are respectful and can respect the rules that we have for their safety. But my question really comes down to pool decks. So if we are allowing sunbathing and sun tanning on the beach, are we also allowing that with private pool decks and stuff like that, or is that more up to the condos?
Be up to your local condo and HOA or whatever.
Okay. So that would just be something that they would come to the decision about. That wouldn't be something that needed to be put into any type of legislation or anything like that.
Not unless it has something to do with the beach itself. If it doesn't, we don't have any control or want to have any control over that.
Okay, great. That was my only question. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next up is Rick Miriam. You there, Rick? Rick Miriam, are you there?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
You're breaking up bad, Rick. Try it again.
Can you?
Cannot hear you. Got a bad connection or something. We'll go to the next one. K Brief. K Brief.
Yes, can you hear me?
Go ahead. Got you.
Oh, great.
Spell your last
thank
name.
you.
Spell your last name for the clerk, please.
It's Brief, B as in boy, R-I-E, F as in Frank, and I live in Seagrove Beach.
Okay.
So, and I want to thank you so much for working so hard to keep us healthy. And because of your decisions to close the beaches and the governor's ban on short-term rentals, we've been relatively safe. We've had more cases per 100,000 people than some Florida counties, but not as many as most. So thank you. And I know that you struggle with balancing many interests, including owners who have rental properties, many from out of town, small business owners, and our residents. Right now, Walton does not meet the guidelines from the White House for reopening. No new cases for 14 days. I think since last Thursday's emergency meeting, there's been another COVID-19 case. And the state of Florida does not meet it either. A week ago, on April 21, Florida had 135 cases per 100,000. On April 28, it has 156 per 100,000. So I'm here to urge you to keep the beaches closed. Money cannot replace lives. We're opening our beaches. We'll draw visitors, including asymptomatic carriers by the thousands from nearby hotspots like Louisiana, Georgia, and Mississippi, and from places like New York and New Jersey and Illinois. I think the caller from Pittsburgh is an excellent example of our problem. Her metro area has 2,400 cases. That the number doubles every 3 weeks, and the case numbers are trending upward. She and her family may be asymptomatic carriers. And the commissioners raised a good point about the impact of visitors on our food supply. I hadn't thought about that. Shelves are empty now. I have family elsewhere who cannot get essential supplies. Visitor influx will make that much worse. I worry about the virus strikes every age, and I'm even worried about our lifeguards out there who are approached by people who are not social distancing. They walk right up within arm's length, and we're endangering our medical personnel, our cashiers, our first responders. If you must open the beaches, I hope you'll find a way to have the same hours as our neighboring counties, with beaches open only in the morning and the afternoon. For my beach day or weekend, I would choose the spot where I could be all day. So let's limit it to locals and coordinate with our neighbors. And I'm hoping that if they must open, the sheriff can enforce social distancing, even writing tickets, being stronger than giving polite warnings. I'm glad that you're banning sunbathing. And
Ms. Brief, your time is up.
okay, well, and one other thing, I hope you'll consider adopting a COVID-19 tax on short-term rentals to cover additional.
All right, next is, I can't think of, I see Rebecca in there. Rebecca Keene, is that who it is? Hello? Rebecca Keene?
Kagan.
Maybe it's Rebecca Kagan. Anyone there close to that name? Move on. Next one would be a 4-digit number, 8013, 8013. Identify yourself, please.
Hey, my name is Brian Amsoff. Last name's AMSHOFF. I just wanted to call in again to express my concerns. I called you guys at the last meeting as well. One thing that's really boggling my mind is how we're even considering the opinions of these people that are not from here. You know, if I was traveling to New York City, I'm not going to call up into their county meetings and stuff. So I think it's just ridiculous that we're even listening to people give their opinions on that stuff. This should be something that's handled here at the county with our leaders like you guys and our residents like people like me. I also support what the last caller just said about keeping the beaches closed or opening them just in a much more limited fashion. I think it's silly that all these people want to give the tourists and stuff all this credit that they're actually going to social distance, because they're not. It's not going to happen. We're going to be the next place that has pictures of, oh, look at this beach. Oh, wow, look, these people are not social distancing. And that's kind of the way it is down here when the beaches are open. It's just people jammed into these small, tiny spots because there's not a lot of public, excuse me, there's not a lot of public beach. So they're crammed into those tiny spots. It's just going to be the recipe for disaster. Cases are going to go up, and we're going to, I think if we do it the way that we're talking about doing it, it's going to end badly. And, you know, hopefully we're not in the same position in a couple weeks where we're talking about the next month and the next month and the next month. So I know it's difficult, and thank you guys for all that you do, and thanks for listening to me. I just wanted to give my 2 cents as a resident here.
Okay. Well, I want you and others to also know that we listen to our locals too. We've got a lot of people that depend on that beach and the industry down there to make a living, and they are hurting, and they need some relief, and that's why we're trying to take a measured approach to this about the actions that we take. And there's people out there that if you don't feel comfortable going to Walmart, Publix, or the beach, don't go. Stay at the house. I mean, good gracious, there's got to be some personal responsibility on the part of the public out there. All right, next up, last 4 digits is 1041. 1041, please identify yourself. 14.
I think y'all are doing one great job. I just wish the sheriff had been there today.
Identify
because on Sunday night.
Hello.
On Sunday.
Identify yourself, please.
I did, Suzanne Harris.
Okay, Suzanne, thank you.
Y'all are doing a great job. I wish the sheriff were there, but I have an off-duty sheriff at my building every single night, beginning at 6 o'clock. On Sunday night, He ran 30 people off the beach. We're closed, and we're staying closed till May 15th, no matter what. He had to run 30 people off the beach between Shipwatch, Edgewater, and Grand Dunes. Since I don't have anybody in my building, they weren't our guests. Then he went down to camping on the Gulf. There were over 100 people on the beach and in the water at camping on the Gulf. His name is Don Fernandez, in case you want to call him and ask him. He had to call Coaston to report it. They were also having bonfires. And every time he would try to leave down there to come back to Edgewater, they would, as soon as he turned around, they would all run back down into the water. Now, my concern is Edgewater alone has 175 condos. And if you only put 4 per condo, which most of them hold 6 or 8, you have over 1,000 people on my beach. Grand Dunes has 175 condos, and they're all 3 and 4 bedrooms. They only have 98 feet of beach. Edgewater has 360. But when we start trying to put 1,000 people on our beach with nobody there to watch, I'm very concerned about the social distancing. And I know that the sheriff has told them to be nice to people, and because Don Fernandez works the beach for the sheriff every day, all day. I know they're being told to be nice to people and try to explain the social distancing. But I'm on my beach, and I'm watching it every day. You can't get the people. The people at Shipwatch next door to us, they're on their beach all day, every day. And when they ask them nicely to leave, they walk off until he drives 8 feet down, and they're right back on the beach. And I also feel sorry for them because, and Bill, you know, some of them have been spit on when they stop to talk to people on the beach. They've been cussed at, but the people aren't leaving the beach. And I don't know how camping on the Gulf can have 100 people out there every day swimming and building sandcastles and doing bonfires when the beach is totally closed. But Mike hasn't got the 2 sheriffs on the beach. Fernandez covers 18 miles of the 26 miles of beach by himself. People know when he goes by. The lifeguards go by. The fire truck, the other night, one of the fire departments, Sammy's out there, their people are doing one hell of a job. But they can't keep people off the beach now, and the rule is the beach is closed. I just want y'all to get a plan on when 360 people are on 90 feet of beach.
Thank you, Ms. Harris.
What happened?
Thank you, Ms. Harris.
Thank you.
All right. Next up, 0181. 0181.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Can hear you, and just
Good morning.
identify yourself and spell your last name for the clerk.
Yes, good morning. This is Alice Butella, B as in boy, Utela, and I live in Seagrove Beach. And I, too, don't feel that this is a good time to open the beach. But since it looks like you are taking this risky action, I appreciate the information sought from our healthcare professional, Ms. Molly, by Ms. Nipper, regarding the recommendation of everyone wearing a mask. And I feel that this requirement is necessary to protect one another if we're going to go to the beach. As she stated, if people do not social distance, then both people need to have a mask. Now, our beaches are narrow, and a lot of people will be walking and jogging, and this often makes it very hard to social distance. It's even hard to social distance walking the street. So we know that the spread is greater than 6 feet with exertion. So if you got somebody walking at you and they're jogging, they're putting out a lot more spread than 6 feet. So I know it would be difficult, but to enforce everyone wearing a mask, but would it hurt to make this recommendation that people wear a mask? Because not everybody's courteous. People walk up to you, as they were saying, and they're closer than 6 feet. So I just think that would be, in some way, it would be prudent to use what information we have from our professionals to make this example or a recommendation. At least, you know, when you get to the beach, see this and wear your mask. So thank you very much for your time and effort.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Lisa Bauschy. Lisa, you there?
Yes. Hello, Commissioner. Can you hear me okay?
We got you. Go ahead.
Okay. Bauschy is Boushhy. I want to thank you for providing this remote means for all of us to participate. And I wanted to mention a couple of things. I really respect the fact that you're trying to do some staggered opening with some restrictions and all. I think that's a great move to make. Regarding sunbathing, I'm glad you removed that. However, the real issue, even with sunbathing, in my mind, is umbrellas and tents. It's sun shelters, because if somebody is merely sunbathing, the whole idea is they want to be in the sun. So by having sun shelters, you're sort of, you know, contradicting the whole idea of sunbathing. But if you're doing away with that entirely, does that mean that you intend that people do not have umbrellas and tents and so forth, for instance, if they are fishing?
Okay. That it, Lisa? Hello? Lisa?
Yes.
Anything,
Yes.
anything else?
No, well, did you hear my question? Do you intend that if someone is fishing, for instance, which is a stationary activity, will they be allowed to use umbrellas and tents? Or is the idea that if there's no sunbathing, there are no sun shelters at all?
I'm looking over at legal.
They're fishing.
They're fishing. Yeah. It's okay.
They're not sunbathing, right?
They're fishing, and I think, Lisa, your question was whether or not they could have a tent they sit under while they're fishing. Is that correct?
Or an umbrella.
Or an umbrella.
In other words, can they have any kind of sun shelter, or is the idea to keep sun shelters off the beach during at least this phase of opening the beach?
You got any comment?
I don't have a comment. Call the question, Mr. Chairman. Call the question.
Okay. All right, Lisa, I don't know if you didn't get your answer, but the question has been called, so there'll be no additional public comment, and we will take a vote. All right. Go. All right, we're going to pause just a minute till the other commissioner gets back. Sid, while I'm waiting on her to get back, have you got it all wrote down what has been talked about as far as the motion, and also any deletions from the original motion?
Yes, so just if you'd like, I can. So the
She's
motion.
back, so go ahead and clarify.
Okay, so the motion is to adopt the resolution with the following modifications. So we would add a paragraph under paragraph 4 that says all permits for fires on the beach shall be suspended and no fire permits shall be issued while this local state of emergency remains in effect. Paragraph C will be modified to read as follows. Individuals on the beach shall limit their activities to the following: walking, jogging, fishing, swimming, paddleboarding, surfing, and boating. Sunbathing was deleted.
Could we also put in there because you've got, boogie boards and things like that?
Well,
I mean, I just as soon do it.
it's pretty vague as it is, you know, and as vague as we keep it.
I mean, it's going to be impossible to list.
I mean, I think we need to keep it as vague as we can.
So is your ask is to add all water,
motion to just, instead of specific things, water activities.
All water activities.
I hate to bring this up, but I think didn't we call the question?
Well, that's true. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry too.
No, that's my fault.
Okay. All right. So, as it was previously motioned and also a modification prior to the call for the question, those items that you just went through is what is being put into the ordinance.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
Any questions from the board? All right, we have a motion and a second on the floor. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. All right, that takes care of that. So we'll get.
Have some additional matters that we need to cover.
I know, I'm trying to get back to my agenda.
While you're doing that, one issue with the board, now that you voted to move forward with the beach opening on May 1st, I've had inquiries from some particularly resorts that have asked for permission to get on the beach Thursday afternoon prior to Friday to clean it up, prepare it, because they have been precluded from being on the beach since whenever. And I thought it was the wise thing to do to let them do that, to keep them from trying to do it Friday morning when there were folks at the beach. We will certainly have our some of Jay's folks out on the beach as well, doing some preparation work. And if it's, unless there's some objection from the board, just want to let our code folks know, and maybe let Bobby, let the sheriff's office know, and those folks there, that if folks are legitimately working Thursday afternoon to prepare for beach opening, a la cleaning, raking, sweeping, and those type things, that's not going to be an issue.
I don't see an issue with it. I don't think the board has any issue with it.
Okay.
Okay, that's fine.
Thank you.
Going back to the original agenda, I see nothing under Public Works, Finance.
We still have stuff under the coronavirus or COVID-19 that we have to address. Right, Larry?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, jump in it. I didn't know anything about that part of it, but go ahead.
Well, I want to confer with Sid one moment.
Mr. Chairman, while they're talking, can I just make one comment?
Go ahead.
I wanted to thank Jeff Goldberg and his team and the EOC. Thank you for everything you do, and I really appreciate all the work you've done through this pandemic.
Were we going to address the sheriff's request to have some sort of contingency target? If so, I would proffer one.
Well, let's let them finish with COVID-19, and then we'll get into that, because that was on my agenda also.
Okay.
Go ahead.
All right. Let's discuss parks for a minute.
I'm sorry, one more thing on the beach stuff. So I do need a motion from the board, just making it explicitly clear that Commissioner Chapman has the authority to extend this local state of emergency that we just adopted on May 5th, assuming nothing has changed at that time. And if something changes substantively, we'll call an emergency meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. And I want to let the board know, be available in case something comes up, even if you have to call a meeting for a Sunday afternoon or something. Try not to, but.
We're on board.
Yo.
May I get clarification? Is this a resolution or ordinance? It's been referred to both.
It's a resolution.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry. Okay, Ms. Jones.
Parks, basically all the parks throughout the county are closed except for the boat ramps. Is this something you want to be consistent with, the beach opening and to reopen the parks, or do you want to wait and see what happens on the beach first?
I would prefer we wait till the 12th.
I disagree, Mr. Chairman. I think if, with an influx of people, we need to have as many places open as, that they can go to as possible. So, I would make a motion that we open the parks and the golf course, May 1st. There's a lot of people before we close Grady Brown that found out they like going there better than the beach. So maybe that would relieve our crowding on the beach, and I think that we need to go ahead and open every park that we have.
Is that your motion?
That's my motion.
Got a second?
Second.
Good deal.
We got a couple seconds.
Are you ready for Friday? Yes, sir. Okay.
Okay. Any public comment? Bob?
Bob Brook, Brooke. Does the motion include the same kind of restrictions that, the distancing and things like that?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely. I'm sorry, Bob, I didn't include that, but that will be part of my motion to include social distancing and all those. Thank you, Bob.
Yes, sir.
So to clarify, do you want that to be part of our local state of emergency, so it would be punishable as a second-degree misdemeanor if people didn't follow the social distancing guidelines, or because otherwise there would be no enforcement mechanism?
Well, that's the thing about it. Why do it if we're not going to have an enforcement arm in there?
I think it needs to be part of our emergency.
Yes,
You
I agree with
State of
that.
emergency.
All right, the board's in agreement, I guess, on that. All right, we got a motion and a second. Any other public comment? I don't know with all these hands that are up, if there's wanting to comment about this particular motion. That's the only comments I'm going to take is what is in regard to this motion that's on the floor concerning the parks and the golf course. If you're not, well, the hands didn't go down, so we'll see. Jim and Barbara. Jim and Barbara. You there? Jim and Barbara. Next is last four digits, 90. Who's this? Nine two nine two. 9292.
This is Philip John, JOHNS.
All right, and your comments in regard to the motion that's on the floor?
Could I just ask for clarification on the previously voted motion?
That's totally out of order as far as what we got on the floor right now. You can.
Okay, I'll just shoot y'all an email then.
There you
That's
go.
fine.
All right. Call in user one, whoever that is. Call in user one.
They're out.
They left. Rick, Miriam, are you there?
Yes. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Spell your last name for the clerk.
Merriam. And I've been on hold because you guys couldn't get me the last time. So am I going out of order now? Because you said you were going to come back to me and you didn't.
Well, the call for the question by a board member stopped all additional public comments, and we voted on that particular motion. So no, sir, you would be out of order. Yes, sir.
Well, I think that's unfair. When you said you were going to get back to me, I walked outside.
I didn't say anything,
whatever.
Mr. Miriam. I didn't say any. I called for whoever. I called your name several times. You didn't respond. And we moved on. And I
I'll get back with you.
I didn't say
So if
that.
you got a transcript person there, maybe they can read it. But it doesn't matter.
We're done. Thank you. Neva, you're next. Neva, are you there? I don't hear her either. All right, next one is 4.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Neva is here.
Well, you got to talk to me, Neva.
Yes, sir. I'm a senior citizen, and this Zoom is new to me, but I'll do the best I can.
All right,
The par-
Neva, is your comments concerning the present motion on the floor concerning the opening of the parks and the golf course? That's what we're taking comments on, and only that.
All right. My question's regarding the parks.
Yes, ma'am.
Which parks are we speaking of?
We're talking about all county parks that we presently have closed. That is,
All right. Does that include the beachfront public beach parks?
the beaches have been open and the parks are
Not,
regional accesses could be open too.
yes, but not, we don't control what the state parks are going to do.
Not the state parks now.
That would be up to the state.
I have a question in regards to a regional beach park,
Which one?
Inlet Beach.
What's your question?
My question is, are we going to be allowed to have, if you could take your personal chair onto the beach and sit in your personal chair using the guidelines for social distancing?
Yes, ma'am, you can.
I can take my own chair down there. And was this already voted on? I know that there was one lady that was talking about sunbathing, and she was against the sunbathing.
Sunbathing,
But
the sunbathing, Ms. Neva, is off the table. It is not part of the approved activities down there.
okay, but you can take your own personal folding chair
Yes, ma'am.
and sit by the water and
Yes,
look
ma'am.
at the water.
Yes, ma'am, you can.
All right, that was my question for clarification. Thank you very much. I am a homeowner in Walton County, but I'm not on the beach.
Okay.
And I haven't been able to get down there for, all of this time. And I do appreciate you all working as hard as you can to satisfy all the people. I know it's a tremendous job, and I do appreciate your efforts. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, last four digits, 4445, 4445. And identify yourself.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Mark Morgan, Morgan.
All right, Mark, is your comments concerning the present motion on the floor dealing with the
Yes.
opening of parks?
And my comments were just like, I'm sorry, but I didn't want to hang up on you, but was from the previous caller. That answered my question.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay.
All right, next, 3793, 3793.
Yes, good morning, Commissioners. This is Dr. Carolyn Zonia, Zonia. I just have a point of information about opening the parks for your consideration. I know that COVID-19 does survive up to 3 days on plastic and stainless steel. Just for some information as far as how sanitizing the facilities at these parks would be, I appreciate how much you're agonizing over these decisions to keep us all safe. So thank you very much. That's my only comment.
Thank you, ma'am. Janice, are you there? Janice, are you there? I don't hear her. All right, move on. Next one is last four digits, 8219, 8219. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Thank you for taking my call. My name's Kara Owen, Caraowen, property owner.
All right, this is in, your comments is going to be in reference to the